everybody, welcome to Card Art in Sunnyvale, California. It's Super Pioneer Tuesday, which means we got 4 rounds and a ton of prize pool. I'm Tom, and joining me this evening is Liam, and he said he's pretty pumped to cast some Pioneer.
Yeah, I'm super excited. My second ever casting experience. First one I was thrown into the deep end on Saturday for the RCQ after scrubbing out, playing some Modern. But Pioneer is much more my bread and butter. This is the constructed format I've personally probably had the most success in, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what people bring.
Well, I mean, we're always excited for Super Pioneer, and we're always excited to see what's in the feature match area. You're not going to be casting Brute Scale combo. This one might be a little more less convoluted, but we're going to have Matt Zhu over on the, he's flipped on the right-hand side, I'm sorry, going up against Kevin Lee on Azorius Spirits. So we'll get those names flipped around in just a second. But Liam, you're a fan of the cat combo now, aren't you?
I am, yes. I've definitely been known to sacrifice some cats in my day. The addition of Ygra to the format has given these sacrifice decks just like an insta-kill combo finish that they didn't have before. So that's makes their opponents have to respect them a lot more than they used to in terms of like playing conservatively. In terms of the Spirit deck, they might have to hold up their counter spells for Ygra more defensively. Because the Spirit deck is really looking to play at flash speed, which is, one of the things that makes it so hard to deal with for a lot of opposing decks. Looks like we're starting out with the Geist Light Snare and the Cauldron. So the Cauldron really, a linchpin of this sacrifice deck, especially in conjunction with the Cauldron Familiar, being able to loop every turn, generate a ping and a Mayhem Devil trigger if that's in play.
Yeah, and so we see kind of basically all of the quintessential cards from this combo deck coming out from Matt's side. We have the Cauldron Familiar, we had the Witch's Oven that unfortunately did meet that Geistlight Snare. Did have a copy of No More Lies that wound up coming down and hitting that Fable of the Mirror Breaker as well. But like you said, this is kind of the bread and butter of the deck. You put the cat in the oven, the cat pops back out, and you do that ad nauseum until your opponent's dead.
Yes.
And it looks like another kind of namesake card to that combo there, too, is that Scavenger's Talent that Matt just threw down.
Yeah, looks like we're not going to see it, but perhaps Matt has another. I know these decks do run multiple copies. And Scavenger's Talent, a card that came out at the same time as Ygra, and works incredibly with Ygra, because not only does it make a bunch of food, do the thing with make a lot of fodder for the deck, it can reanimate Ygra and just put it into play immediately. There's a lot of crazy things you can do with Chapter 3 when you sacrifice all the stuff to reanimate the Ygra. It triggers Chapter 2. You get to mill more cards. You can mill then the cats, and then you could like combo off on end step with your cat loops. You can also deck them, like say they have, a Meat Hook Massacre in play, and you can't get through that. not in this matchup, of course.
That's happened way too much to me playing this deck.
There's a lot of text on the Scavenger's Talent card. And I'm sure Matt, being the player he is going to use it to its fullest extent.
Yeah, and we saw Kevin not wanting that one to hit the battlefield, wind up just throwing on down. Damn, I always forget this one because and I always played this one for so long, but it's the Exile 4 or less. It was a modern staple in Spirits.
Yeah, the Spell Queller.
The Spell Queller, thank you. See, this is why you're the expert and I'm the chatty guy. But Spell Queller came down to eat that one, and we saw a fight over it with a Fatal Push, but that slip out the back came on down from Kevin Lee. This is a card that Standard All-Star, definitely making its way through to some of these tempo decks in Pioneer as well.
Yeah, I could see that being a card that, good against a lot of the removal that Matt has. Mayhem Devil, though, one of the reasons that these decks do still play red in most cases, this is a card that gives a lot of damage output whenever the deck does its thing, and is a card that could be a problem for the Spirits deck, because Spirits is a creature deck, and the Mayhem Devil can represent a lot of ping at instant speed, so even if you're like trying to flash in a Spirit on end step, you do have access to the Mayhem Devil ping if you've set up a board. But since it's the only thing on Matt's board, and we've already resolved this curiosity style effect on the Queller, it does seem like Matt is going to need to develop a bit more in order to like have the threat of this Mayhem Devil be fully active.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem here as well. Becoming in multiples is not the worst thing in the world here, because now this represents basically a shock on every single one of Kevin's creatures, but we are going to wind up having just at the end of turn a Rattle Change coming in as well. So Kevin putting up a pretty decent clock in the air here. My math doesn't fail me. This is going to be 6 damage already, so Matt basically has one more turn after this to live, or maybe less with the Shackle guys coming down as well.
Yeah, missing that land drop was tough. Really would have liked to, hold up a push in addition to developing the other devil, but looks like stumbling a little bit. Has it looks like another cauldron in hand, so can get that powerhouse underway. I just wonder if it's going to be a tiny bit too late, as you mentioned.
Yeah, so that the Witch's Oven there does represent a way to create food to bring the Cauldron Familiar from the graveyard back. It's also just a way to gain some life in case Matt does find himself in a scenario where he needs to, preserve that life total a little bit. It looks like that Kevin is getting aggressive here, swinging in for 6, but keeps 1 back to block here. So Matt's going to wind up going down to 6 himself, and like we mentioned before, this is a 2-turn clock. Matt really needs like land, Witch's Oven, and something to put in the oven. Oh, yeah, that looks like it. He drew the land. He has the Witch's Oven.
Okay. And if you can ever get the Spell Queller off the board, I mean, it's a little tough because the fact that this Rattle Chains is in play maybe indicates that Kevin has a second. He kind of ran it out aggressively. But if you can get the Spell Queller off the board, get that Draw Engine out of the way, and get the Scavenger's Talent back. Scavenger's Talent plus Witch Oven, that's an additional food every time you do the loop.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just start accumulating food. And with these Mayhem Devils in play, eventually you could do the trick where you just have a cat in your graveyard, a bunch of food, and you just sack a food to the cat to bring it back, hold priority. You could just sack as many food as you want. So you just get to get as many sack triggers as you want immediately, and you could just potentially machine gun down either their entire board or all their life points with these Mayhem Devils.
Well, one thing that Mayhem Devil also does is turn sideways and attack. So Matt's actually representing an attack here for 6, putting Kevin down to 7 himself. So okay, we are going to flash in the other Rattle Chains we anticipated Kevin having in his hand, but this is dangerous territory now because, in theory, Matt could just kill Kevin.
Yeah, it looks like he, even if he doesn't have another piece of fodder to start the food chain going, the worst case scenario, he could sack one of the devils and get a couple extra pings that way.
Matt passed the turn back.
Passing the turn. I guess he doesn't quite have it.
It's like this screams like Fatal Push or Go for the Throat or Bust or something, but there's 6 untapped lands. There's a Mutavault underneath there for Kevin Lee as well, so this represents a ton of potential attackers.
Yeah, that cat, a great chump blocker, but not up against flyers.
And we see Curious Obsession number 2 going to be targeting the same Spell Queller here. So this thing is 1, 2, 3, and I think it's 4 toughness altogether. So yeah, this thing is going to survive a lot of Mayhem Devil pings.
Yeah, at this point, the devils are probably, gonna go face, and if they're gonna get the job done, and otherwise probably aren't gonna be enough.
All right, so
Kevin, this battle cruiser.
Yeah, so he really does. It's like fully online, operational. All the little interceptors are there, going to be drawing them cards just in case. We see the activation of the Mutavault, and looks like this is just going to be the classic turn everything sideways, let the math be for blockers, which Matt has none of right now.
Yeah, I guess the cat could chump the Mutavault. That's a non-flyer. So if we sack one of the devils, that is a cat in the graveyard, right, for Matt?
Yeah, that was a cat from earlier on in the game, yes.
Okay, so we could sack one of the devils. We could deal with the Rattle Chains pretty easily with these pings, and then block the Mutavault with the cat, go up to 7 with the cats, enter the battlefield, and it looks like this Queller. So we're not dead, I don't think, but we are probably going to have to, unless we have something in our hand. I mean, if we have a push, I think we're actually in great shape.
Let's say, what is the thing that Matt could possibly have here? So you think like just removal spell in general?
Yes, I mean, it's possible he also has nothing and is just like these devils entered the red zone because they weren't really going to block anyways against these flyers. So we might be just looking at Matt doing as much as he possibly can with the materials he has.
It does look like that Matt is doing the math, since he is the blocker in this situation here. And Kevin just best poker face in the world here. Sunglasses on and everything. Yeah. You're getting no emotion out of him to let him see if he has. He has 3 open mana. He's spread it all out. 2 cards face down on the table. He says, "Show me what you got."
Yeah. Are those glasses allowed?
I think so. I mean, they are. They do look like they're regulation. Although, wearing something that shaded, you might need to have black in your deck somewhere.
Yeah. I actually don't know if there's. I think there might be for poker. Don't know if there is for Magic.
Well, it looks like Matt unfortunately didn't have quite enough to answer there. Is going to wind up scooping it up, and Kevin Lee just off the back of a little bit of a mana stumble from Matt, and just having a really great curve out against what Matt had, is taking game number 1.
Yeah, it looks like it probably, even if he could have technically survived there, he would have been having to sack your own Mayhem Devil. It's probably not a winning proposition. Yeah, it's also possible that it was just enough damage, didn't quite count it all out. It was very close, regardless. Yeah, thoughts are, do we see these sideboards, or
I don't think I have access to their exact sideboards, but we can in general kind of think like if you obviously you're the Junsack pilot, so you're sitting across from Azorius Spirits. You're wondering if it's 2 or 3 years ago in the past because it's been a long time since we've seen the deck kind of like rising to the top of the Pioneer metagame. But you're sitting down across from this blue-white tempo deck. What are your general sideboard options as the Junsack player?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing about Spirits is it's pretty hard to attack, at least with the options that the Jund deck normally has available to it. I recall this being a matchup where I don't actually side that much. That being said, it does look like Matt has 4 cards placed out on the table, so maybe he has a plan that I'm not aware of, but
5.
Green does give you access to, I think, Paw Patch Formation is a card that has been well positioned in past metagames, and that is a good, way to answer flyers. You're of course keeping like all your pushes in. That's like your best card, because the Spirits deck is ultimately a creature deck, and I also think you probably do want to put your hand disruption in, assuming it's like Thoughtseize. Spirit sort of plays as a deck that has a lot of pieces that it sort of uses all of its cards to beat you. It doesn't it's not like a combo deck in the sense that it just needs specific cards. So Thoughtseize, clearing away a counterspell in order to like resolve an uncontested Mayhem Devil or like a Ygra if you're going for the kill, could be interesting in this matchup as well.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of options that Matt has.
Yeah. Also, just like the hand knowledge that the Thoughtseize gives you is pretty important when you're up against like a flash deck.
Okay. I do notice that our camera unfortunately has run into a little of a power issue, so I will be right back and changing that out so we can get game number 2 started as soon as possible. Liam, I want you to kind of talk to chat.
Yeah.
What, as the Junsack player, what is your ideal opening hand, and like what do you not want to see from the Azorius Spirits deck across from you?
Okay, yeah, good question. Speech in. All right, so let's see. From the Spirits player, so I mean, one thing that's kind of nice for Matt is it looks like this is just straight Azorius. You don't have to deal with Collected Company. Collected Company is a card that is could be a potential problem for the Jund deck. But just as the straight Azorius is going to lean on its curiosity effects as its like way to go up on cards. So the ideal hand for Matt, I think, involves definitely like a couple fatal pushes just to make it so that those curiosities can't stick. Able to play instant speed that way, and then I think you're always looking for like Cat. As I mentioned, is less of an important blocker against flyers. But if you do assemble, Cat, Oven, Devil, you can keep the board of Spirits, especially on the play now. Like Matt was like just a little bit behind, not quite able to assemble that loop to like keep the board clear Spirits. But now that he's on the play, if he can assemble, those 3 pieces, he could really take on like a more controlling role. In that sense.
Yeah, and one of the things that I know is difficult from Kevin's side as a Spirits deck is you're a creature-based tempo deck. Like even like a lot of your interaction is at staple to your creatures. I mean, we saw Spell Queller in game number 1. So when your creatures get machine gunned down by Mayhem Devils, or maybe if Matt is sideboarding in like a Meat Hook Massacre or something, a lot of your creatures before you put down those other Lord effects, you put a Curious Obsession on them, are X1s and X2s. So you are in the danger zone when you come down to the pings and everything. One interesting addition we did see though, as Kevin was shuffling up for game 2 here, I saw Enduring Curiosity out of the Spirits list too. So this is something that's a little bit more recent, I guess.
That's a nice innovation. That is a card that I think potentially could be interesting against the Sacrifice deck. Does get chumped itself by Cauldron Familiar pretty handily. So in that respect, it's not like a hard counter to the deck by any means. But you're still potentially drawing a lot of cards.
Yeah. Speaking of hard counter, there was no counter spell for the turn 3 Fable the Mirror Breaker this game from Matt's side, so that's going to resolve and just going to wind up meeting a Rattle Chains being flashed in by Kevin at the end of turn. But we are going to wind up getting a Portable Hole coming out here from Kevin Lee, most likely sideboarded in this matchup. It's going to wind up eating up that Goblin Shaman token and making sure that Matt just doesn't have turn 5 or turn 4 Ygra.
Yeah. Portable Hole is an incredible card for this matchup. Hadn't even considered that Kevin could have had that, but given that he does, I'm sure he brought all of the ones he had access to in. being able to eat an oven disrupt that combo. If Matt keeps a hand that's like really relying on oven, like Cat does very little in this matchup without oven. And Portable Hole is an incredible card against Scavenger's Talent.
Oh yeah.
You invest a ton of mana into the talent, and then it gets either bounced or Portable Hold, and then you're incredibly sad. So.
Well, Matt's going to get the turn pass back to him here from Kevin. He's got a Fable the Mirror Breaker trigger on the stack. We'll see if he wants to discard it. Looks like he just said, nah, my hand's good. I'm just going to keep this Blood Tide Harvester, throw it out there, make a blood token. So, yeah, how often does that happen to you where you actually look at your hand, you're just like, actually, I don't want to draw?
Yeah, never something you want to see as the opponent. Probably means he doesn't have any cats. Like, you almost always discard your cats, assuming you have, like, any other way to make food.
So it looks like we're shocking in here. I saw Deadly Dispute in Matt's hand, Fatal Push as well. So the Shackle Geist is going to get flashed in here, thanks to the Rattle Chains granting the ability to do so. And we're just going to get double Fatal Push.
That's what I was talking. I was like, if he opens double push in his hand, he's in great shape, and it looks like that is exactly what happened. I guess that explains why he didn't discard anything.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you, Liam. How do you fatally push a flying spirit off the cliff?
That's an extremely good question. I guess this card has actually just been a flavor fail the whole time. It should say non-flying creature.
No, there you go. The Fatal Push is somehow going to kill the spirits twice, as another Portable Hole comes down, eats the Blood Tithe Harvester, but now we're going to get a flipped reflection of Kiki Jiki. Probably don't want that with Blood Tithe Harvester on the table.
That's true, yeah. I guess you got to do this if you're Kevin because of this Kiki Harvester combo, but you're not happy about it because this is not one of the things you want a Portable Hole. Like, Matt's deck is full of juicy Portable Hard targets, and this is not really one of them.
All right, looks like Matt in hand. That's a Mayhem Devil, a Deadly Dispute, and I want to say that's a Claim the Firstborn, which is something that basically hits everything in Kevin's deck besides that potential Enduring Curiosity we talked about.
Claim the Firstborn is interesting. It's like very Feast or Famine in this matchup. If you like steal, I don't know how many of the Curiosity effects Kevin actually kept in. Stealing a Curiosity effect and then hitting them and drawing a card and then sacking is an absolute blowout. Yeah. But Claim is a sorcery against a deck that plays mostly at instant speed, so it's sort of a double-edged sword. Interesting that he kept it.
This is also interesting from Kevin's side. We're seeing a lot of cards like these Portable Holes, this Rest in Peace that's hit the battlefield here. A lot of these scream sideboard cards to me, but I know we're talking about the Spirits deck is very creature tempo based, so now I'm wondering with all these Fatal Pushes that Matt had in his opening hand, does Kevin have any gas? Okay, so he's got the Spell Queller. Okay, he has gas.
Nice. Yeah, that was going to be bad if that Mayhem Devil resolved. Mayhem Devil plus Reflection. This Fable card, just so incredible in the sack deck. If you copy a Mayhem Devil, not only do you have 2 Mayhem Devils active for the turn, the Mayhem Devil will get sacked at the end of the turn, the copy, and then it'll see itself out. The other one will see it out. It would be such a beating. So this is a very, very clutch Spell Queller, Kevin.
So quick swing in for 2. There's that Claim the Firstborn.
Oh, yes.
And say, thankfully, I also use the Japanese one, so I know exactly what this card is. We'll put up the English one for everybody watching.
Yeah, so Matt navigating this nicely, getting to a spot where on his turn there is a spirit in play for this Claim the Firstborn as a sorcery. Not only this, I wonder if there's anything we can do here. We do have the Reflection able to activate. So now if Kevin wants to do anything, he could actually Spell Queller anything from Kevin.
Ooh, that's pretty sick.
I assume Kevin would have... I assume Kevin is a bit out of gas because letting this all happen, is not great.
All right.
If he could afford it.
So we are going to wind up getting this Deadly Dispute coming on in here. So Matt doing the classic Jun Sack thing of steal your thing, sacrifice your thing for my gain.
Yeah, the classic. Oh my gosh, yeah, and this is beating. We're gonna, I guess, hold up the Fable to be able to do it. Potentially, best case scenario is you do it on their end step, you untap, you do it again, and then you have 2 additional Mayhem Devils in play on your turn. And then they all are active at once. They all leave play at the same time, see each other. Well, actually, they slowly play one at a time, but it's still a lot of damage.
Yeah, and then you wind up having the situation where it's just like, I'm going to crack this blood token, I'm going to discard a card, draw a card, lightning bolt you.
Yeah.
All right, so this Deadly Dispute still on the stack. Kevin really thinking about, does he want to let Matt make a treasure and draw 2 cards? This is we've seen that Matt has missed land drop number 5, so this is definitely something Kevin has to consider. And second Spell Queller.
Interesting.
So most importantly, though, the Spell Queller, when it goes away, Matt's still going to have the opportunity to cast this Deadly Dispute, and he's got just a blood token just chilling.
Yeah, I guess I wonder. I'm actually not even 100% sure if you would need to pay the additional cost when you get it back.
Oh, that's true, because
what
you've already
Spell Queller
paid.
says.
I think it's Spell Queller says you exile the spell, and then so you would be able to cast it again, or does it go directly on the stack? That's a great question. I wish I was a judge.
Without paying its mana cost. I don't know if that means you have to pay other additional costs as well. That's interesting.
Well, we'll see if we find out about this, because Matt's doing the thing that you were talking about here, Liam, making a copy of this Mayhem Devil, and these Mayhem Devil triggers are probably getting pointed at the Spell Queller.
Yeah, unless this is actually just lethal, which is actually quite possible. Kevin's at 18, but we get to make another. We have a blood token. We have cards in hand.
I think there was another Claim the Firstborn draw per turn as well.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I'm counting just from attacks. We have 9. This is assuming Kevin doesn't have anything, of course. And then from the blood, we have 3 more. And then or we could, kill the Queller, Deadly Dispute, make a treasure, potentially sack a couple more things from that. Then all the Mayhem Devils trigger as they leave. So yeah, this is like well enough lethal to me.
All right, we're starting off by cracking the blood. The Spell Queller does have 3 toughness. So Matt, by the way, that was like the fastest go to my life total pad to take 9 damage ever in the world. I think I've seen from Kevin here.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like we are just pointing the damage at Kevin's face though. So Matt looking like he's going for the kill.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Kevin's looking a little bit out of gas. And when you have it, you have it.
And say we need like 1 damage, right? Because you're saying that the devils leave 1 at a time, so there's a 3 damage ping and a 2 damage ping, right?
Yes, yeah. I guess that would be true. I was thinking maybe we would send all 3 pings at the Queller, and depending on how that ruling played out, we could potentially, if we could sacrifice the thing, the Deadly Dispute, that would actually be like upside for Matt in that case, because then you would get to sack something, and then you'd also get to sack the treasure, and that would be then lethal. But I think putting Kevin to 1 shouldn't be hard to find the last point on a future turn.
It's just like a cat or something. Yeah, Kevin even looking at the board right here and saying like, you got this one. All right, so Matt, after sideboards, Kevin's got all the interaction in the world, but wasn't able to really put up a clock against Matt. 12 HP was just plenty there for Matt, and he's going to wind up forcing a game number 3.
All right. Interesting. So yeah, Kevin now on the play. I'm curious if this makes it more likely to, keep in those curiosity effects. Curiosity effects are a bit scary now that you saw that you're sort of playing the you're sort of trying to juke each other with the Claim the Firstborn and the curiosity effects. That is definitely a dynamic that's in play. But now that the play draw has switched, it does also change things in that Kevin might want to play a bit more assertively, because you can develop while holding up a Geistlight Snare more easily because you have access to more mana relative to their mana at any given turn. So that's pretty interesting. The counterspell is kind of, better than you would. If you just looked at the deck list, you might not realize it, but the counterspells like Geistlight Snare are some of the most important cards in this matchup, I think. Just making it so that, the sack player can't, can't just blindly run out one of their, pieces that, makes this synergy package work, or like a Ygra in play. So it just makes it very scary from their perspective. I'm sure the Rest in Peace is staying in. That of course shuts off the Ygra combo and is a lot more effective than something like Ghost Vacuum. Rest in Peace being just like a blanket exile all things that hit it in. A lot of people make the mistake of bringing in stuff like Ghost Vacuum and Hearse against these Jund Sack decks, which really do almost nothing, because if you try to grab a cat and they have any extra food sitting out, you can just respond to that and bring the cat back. But Rest in Peace, much more effective, does shut off that whole game plan. And we'll see how if Matt reacts to seeing that card brought in the previous game.
Yeah, the hard part is I know that the pivot toward Jund from Rakdos originally with the Sacrifice deck was mostly because of Ygra, but in doing so, you now have answers to these enchantment and artifact-based things, whereas Red had answers to enchantments. You'd bring in your Braids and your Kolaghan's commands, but they don't do anything against Rest in Peace and Leyline Bindings and stuff like that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Paw Patrimation, a card that could potentially answer Rest in Peace. It's also possible that Matt just, boards in such a way that makes him less susceptible to Graveyard Hate, maybe cutting the Ygra combo and Scavenger's Talents, maybe even trimming cats since they aren't as effective chump blockers. We didn't see one last game, so that maybe hints at that he might have done that.
Meanwhile, we had Kevin Lee starting off by land go and flashing into Spectral Sailor end of turn, but did not have the potential best follow-up, which would be Curious Obsession, hold up 1 mana for Geist Lights there.
Yeah.
And Matt, though, is just going to play tapped Overgrown Tomb and pass, so Matt also playing a little bit of a slower game plan here. That's going to give Kevin a chance to poke in for 1 more, and there's a portable hole. That's going to hit a very key piece there in that Witch's Oven.
Yeah, we'll see just how much Matt kept his hand on the back of the oven.
We got land number 3. We have multiple Mayhem Devils in hand. Matt, thankfully, flicking through his cards, and I got my glasses on today so I could see. Mayhem Devil number 1, Geistlight Snare number 1, and that's what you're talking about, Liam, how important these very cheap counter spells can be.
Yeah, I mean, this might honestly be a situation where, oh my gosh.
Oh, well, there's the Enduring Curiosity. All right, Curiosity hits the battlefield. It's not going to be pumping up the Spectral Sailor the way that a Curious Obsession would. However, it is still going to be drawing cards for every single thing that connects to Matt's face now.
Yeah, this now basically says that Matt, yeah, not having the Cauldron here is brutal. Like, if he had Cauldron Cat plus a removal spell, that could be good. But now it's basically saying Matt has to answer every creature out of Kevin. There's no real way to exile there's really no way to get this Enduring Curiosity off the board from the Jund deck that I know of.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unless maybe you have like a Tear Asunder in the sideboard for some reason.
Right. Some niche sideboard cards that you probably wouldn't. Actually, Tear Asunder you might have brought in against these portable holes. But, okay, we do have a cat.
All right, well, on the plus side, this cat can block Kevin's cat, because Kevin's cat, most importantly, is not a spirit and doesn't have wings. So.
Yeah, okay. Wow. So yeah, I mean, without this portable hole, with the oven, Matt would actually be in a totally fine spot. But without it, he's gonna have to start chumping, and like, what makes the cat such an incredible chump blocker in conjunction with oven is, you're never actually losing resources because it's basically an indestructible chump blocker. You just blocks, sacrifice it, make a food, and you can just recur it. But without the oven, it is just a chump blocker that blocks and then dies.
Yeah, it puts it in its graveyard where sometimes you want it to be. But looking at Matt's hand, we saw Mayhem Devil. It looks like a Blackcleave Cliffs, and then unknown 3rd card over there. Meanwhile, Kevin Lee, he's going to be potentially at least drawing 1 card, if not more. So we have a Supreme Phantom hitting the battlefield. That's going to pump up this Spectral Sailor to a 2/2. This Cat Glimmer here, this Enduring Curiosity, will stay a 4/3, and we'll have to see if Matt decides to trade in the cat to prevent Kevin from actually drawing a card.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that's worth it. You can't give the Spirit deck too many cards, because then they just like fill up a handful of counter spells, and then you could just like never make more progress. Like, if they just, at this point, Kevin's board is developed enough such that if he just sits on counter spells and draws cards every turn and doesn't let Matt do anything else, it's pretty much over. So you just can't let them start like coiling in that way. And then, yeah.
All right, so just some cat-on-cat violence here. There's a little bit of cat fight happening. It's still going to deal 2 damage from that Spectral Sailor being pumped up by the Supreme Phantom. So it's going to put Matt down to 14. We're drawing a card from Kevin's side. And then the most dangerous thing in the world is seeing blue and white mana untapped as you pass your turn.
I mean, yeah, and it could mean anything, honestly, in the Spirits deck. Like, I think one of the things that's so scary about it is the untapped mana could represent a counter spell, or it could represent another threat that's going to draw more cards, be buffed by the Supreme Phantom. So I think in order to like get out of this, yeah, Matt's going to need to, I guess develop these.
No, not Spell Queller gets there. That's probably one of the worst things you could possibly see here. It looks like Matt has a tapped land and a Blood Tithe Harvester. Or is that I can't tell if that's a tapped land or if that's another Claim the Firstborn, but either way. Oh, Matt's just going to pack it in. Yeah, he just says GG here. There's a flying army and tons of cards on Kevin Lee's side. And so that's going to be the Azorius Spirits deck coming in here, drawing all the cards, and tempoing out the Jund Sack deck.